Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'd like to talk to you today about worship. I want to talk to you about how that is, what that means to us, how it impacts our lives. So let me get right into it. So, worship, if you want to define it out, let's bring out the dictionary. Worship means to show adoration or love to a deity, to God. There's an old Webster's dictionary I had, it was like 1916, and it expressed it like this. It expressed it like an outward expression of love to God. I always like that outward expression. So not just this inward thought, not that we can't worship God with our thoughts, and actually we should, but an outward expression. See, I would say let's break it down. Let's be linguistic about it. What's the root word of worship? The root word is worth. So I would say worship is giving worth to God, right? But that needs to be done outwardly. I could say, God, you're worthy, God, you're worthy, but if my thoughts, my language, the way I talk, what I do, how I, am with people, how I am with my job, my family, all that, if that doesn't express that God's worth anything, because everything I'm doing is selfish or about me, then that's not worship. Just thinking about or saying the word isn't anything. We can't be religious about this. This isn't like a check it off your list. We've gone to Sunday and sang 3 songs. Worship is a whole life, a whole way of being, a whole new thought from our old ways, from our selfish ways, from our sinful ways. So Jesus kind of expressed what the true worship was. In John 4, he's talking to the woman at the well, and he says to her, hey, you don't even know who you worship. You don't even understand. But it doesn't matter where. God's looking for those who will worship in spirit and in truth. I'm not going to unpack all that today. There's a lot there just in that statement. But I will say this. We need to worship, give worth to God with our born-again person, our spirit, right? We need to worship God with our physical person, how we are, how we act, what we do. Maybe even when we're singing songs or praising Him or speaking words of adoration and love to Him and lifting our hands. That's physical worship. Being prostrate down on our face, bowing down to Him, if you want to say, physically, like actually doing it. That's worship. That's giving worth. We're saying we're so worthy. We're going to do this physical act to worship you. We're going to sing. That's a physical act. We're going to play an instrument. That's a physical act. It's why music is so important in our Christian lives, that it's the first thing we do as we come together in a service. Don't get me wrong. Music does not equal worship. Music is a tool for worship. Some people get confused by that because we have a whole genre of music that we call worship music. That's fine, but let's not confuse the issue. Worship is expressing love to God. So Jesus says something about that a little bit in Matthew 6. He's just told the disciples how to pray. He's, said a bunch of things. It's right before the Sermon on the Mountain. He says this, where your treasure is, that's where you'll find your love. So what do you treasure? What is worth something? I think that's the thing, treasure is valuable. It's worth something, and we seek after it. We give time to it. I have an old saying that I don't know if it's, I don't even know who made it up, but I heard it and I've grabbed onto it. And what you spend time with the most is what you love. So saying that, I grew up knowing some guys who just, that everything, their car was everything. They spent a lot of time cleaning it, waxing it, repairing it, making sure it ran right. I mean, a lot of time, like hours every day. I thought, man, they must worship their car if that's true. I don't know, that it might not be sin or evil of it itself, but man, I was thinking, what about their families? What about God? Are they spending that kind of time with the Lord or with their families? See, so that's convicting on my ways. Like, am I spending more time watching a show on Netflix than I do in God's Word, spending time with Him in prayer, or playing music on my guitar, or you name it. What do you spend the most time with? What do I spend the most time with them? Is it at my job? Am I a workaholic? Am I spending more time at my job? I mean, some of us, it's out of necessity. Yeah, we kind of do. We spend more time at our job than we do anything else, you know? But what about at your job, worshiping in your thoughts and your words and your actions? Letting His words that you take in during lunch break, during your devotion time before you get there, all those things, letting that guide how you are at your job. And that being a way to give worth to God while you're at work. I know not everybody has the opportunity, depending on what kind of job they have, but I know you can. There is a way to get it in there. So I would encourage you to do so. There's a lot to say about worship. I don't want to get too far into this. I just wanted to be this encouraging word. So I encourage you to maybe take a look at what worship is, that it's more than the music part of service on a Sunday morning or when your church gathers. It's more than music in general, you know, that genre of music we call worship music. It's more than singing songs, and it's more than just saying I love you to God, but it's being in a full relationship with Him and then allowing that to be an expression outwardly of how you are, how you think, how you talk, how you act, and what you do, giving Him worth in every part of your life. Hope that encourages you today. I'll get back to you more. Love you. Blessings.